Used to watch Classic Britain. Hey, Shelton. Hey, Classic Britain, folks. He's up, he's on the up. Pete C back on PAPPA for another nice 1 hour video. Richard heads off home for tea. That was the other day. And we're left with an empty engine bay. Okay, there's 3 rhyming words for you in one. We're an automatic rhyming machine, we are at Cortina City. I now speak as close to the camera as I can, quietly as I can, because the neighbours, as I said in the first engine episode of PAPPA, they think I'm cracking up. What are you talking to yourself? What are you talking to yourself out in the garden for? We keep hearing you. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to geyser, or nurter degreaser the bay. See all this gunk? I want it gone and clean. Then a comprehensive parts list will be required, because we're going to do a bit of Pete C systematic attack. Not 5-star from the 80s, that was systematic, but a systematic attack on the bay. We're going to detail all the parts that need to be replaced to make it a safe driving car. Okay, so that means brake lines, that means electrics, that means steering rack boots, and various other things to make this a safe drive. New tyres, windscreen washer, wipers, and jets working good, everything to be right. Okay, so that's the plan. It won't take a lot of cash to do that. This is my £500 budget. Yes, can we do it, PAPPA, for 500 quid? Will it go back on the road for a nice clean monkey? Yes, a nice clean 500. Gonna need some headlights. These, look at the ingenious. Have you ever wondered and marvelled the genius of these side lights? Someone's put, well, it wasn't someone, it was the owner of the car, has put in these extra lamps for side lamps. He told me that he couldn't get the main 7-inch headlamp bulbs with a side light attachment in British Guiana. That's Andre, the owner. So he ingeniously, to get it through the MOT, roped and lashed up these like something off the decking of a ship. I can half expect Johnny Depp to pop out swashbuckling with a wee bottle of scotch. Right, okay, or was that Richard's spiced rum? Yeah, let's go off on a tangent there. Look at these lovely roll bar mounting points that haven't corroded. Look at the lack of corrosion, folks. Solid, solid, solid is the order of the day. Well, my first job, I talked in the first part that I may swap out the loom, but I've only got GXL looms, and they are, I'm concerned, a little bit concerned, that we won't mate up with the dash that we've got, because we're on L clocks. So it's well within my capabilities to repair the loom, and I think it would be more fitting to the project to just fix the loom, because I do know the wiring colours, and whilst I'm doing that I'll route the alternator plug across to the other side, hence Pinto. In fact, we could come up with a plan for this, in that if it ever went back to the 600 lump, that we would keep this plug but dual up the plug. So I'll piggyback on to this harness connector here, just basically parallel the wires, and leave this on so that it's there, and we'll tuck it away. And then if you ever went back to crossflow, you wouldn't have to swap the loom out again, so you'd have a nice basically an adapter is what we'll put on this. The temperature probe wire is on the right side, that's okay. Oil pressure wire will have to be moved or doubled up again. So I'm going to make it dual loomed. I think that's a good idea. Just so if you ever want to get it back to how it should have been, you'll have that option. So I'm going to repair the loom because it's been badly damaged here. Look, we've had a fire. And that's down to this relay not being fused. I've mentioned this on Cortina City before, where you get a direct live feed into the relay that's not fused, and you can get a short there if the relay fails. What happens with these relays is they internally corrode, although I'm not saying that that's the cause of this fire, Could have just been a pinched wire on this one, wire fire. But they can corrode inside, and the contacts can break, fall and short internally, cause an internal short which takes the loom down. So that can happen. It's wise to fit an inline fuse and tuck it up. You'll find the main wire, live wire feed. There it is. I'm pinching it now. So you'd break into that and put a 30 amp fuse in there and tuck it up behind. Get a waterproof one. Little rubber jackets on the fuses that have a sort of boot that snaps in place. I do that on all the cars. Anyway, we can unplug the loom very easily here and then withdraw the loom, put it on the bench and rebuild that loom. You'll hear some power tools because next door's extending their house, which means we can get away with making a bit of noise ourselves. Under the radar we will slip with the noisy parts of the car not being detected, for the ambient background noise has been raised. So that means I can angle grind away outside on nice summer days, or I can bring cars in and out and we can use the workshop. Of course, that's what it's for, but we've got options. We've got a bit more flexibility than we ever have before in terms of making noise on summer days. Must admit, I won't do any work that's noisy at all on a Saturday or a Sunday, just to be respectful. But in the week, it's fair game for PAPPA. So we shall keep on making this comprehensive parts list, and the name of the game is to get ordering stuff well in advance so that you don't have any waiting times. So it's prudent to start making your list, and once you've made that list, it's out of your head and on the paper, and it just relieves a bit of pressure as well. Nothing better from day-to-day life, making little job lists. Applies to all aspects of life, of course. Some things are irreconcilable regardless of a list, but I think we know what they are. Usually money and relationships. No list can help with those. Anyway, I'm going to pull the loom out. I shall use the tripod from time to time, so you get some shots. I'm trying to keep it interestingly filmed. First job, loom. Take it out. Take it away. Okay, so fangs on the tangs, and off we go. Just lifting these tangs back a little bit, notorious for breaking. Slowly release the loom. We might not get away with breaking a tang. The tangs are the little clips that hold the loom in place. And I'm just pulling on the headlight relay plugs off there onto the indicators, bringing you round. Hold on. Check. Check. Phillips screwdriver needed as well. Fuse box. Out here. Off there. That is your ballast. I'll take that off. That's already built into loom. We can leave the ballast actually. These here little clips down there. Screwdriver just to pry those apart. So we need a Phillips for the earth screws. They may or may not go. I didn't know if I bulldogged them, but it's almost out already. Tangs there, you can see. Down they go. Push down. Down we go. Up on these ones. Out. You can see there's not much in these. Look. can weld them back on. There is a technique, me and Richard mastered a technique for that. I forget how it was now. Richard, type away, what was that technique we used? Can't remember, but it worked. Blow a motor plug, easily off. That's off. Next, main loom connectors. We'll have to go flat blade on those. Some more tools needed now, just to pull this out. We'll be out in no time. Okay, let me go and get a Phillips to undo the earth points. There they are there. Look, do you think they'll go? They look naughty. They always are, but you can grip them. I use actually side cutters, a sort of sacrificial pair of side cutters, and you can actually nip them at the edge and turn around. That trick works quite well. I'll show you if it doesn't come undone easily. And then looking around, I think that's it. Bulldog as you go. I'm just bulldogging everywhere, to be fair. I don't know why I keep talking in rhyme, rhythm and rhyme. Why not? Some poetry shows coming up as well, if you want to see those. EP3 poetry show is coming back to your screens. If you don't know what it is, that's stand-up poetry that I do. I've done it for a while. Good bit of fun. Come on, bulldog. Yeah. Right, where's those surf screws? One there. I mean, a bit late in the game for it to be penetrating through. Anyway, those brake line fittings, important to be getting onto those. Make life a bit easier for the muscles from Brussels. Richard watching and saying, thanks Pete for making my life easier. These are tight, yeah. Comes out. Go. $13mm for that earth point on the washer motor, and our tricky screw here. Gonna try a bigger set of mollies on it. That set, the jaws aren't quite right for that, so that off. Couple of other little bits and then we're done. Okay, that one's gone with the mold grips. That's always quite often works, that technique. So that's loose. We'll do the other side. Those mollies there, and then this one a little bit trickier to get at. In and down, there we go. I'll get on that now, can't do it with the camera, but Phillips for the Airfin loom connector. Even with the Phillips screw loose, there's no actual posi drive shape to get the screwdriver in, so we'll go in with these long nose mouldy grips. It just gives you better access. These long reach ones are quite good to have in the toolkit. I'm just watching that I don't snag the cables here pulling out, just trying to twist the connector as well. This is tight all the way, still giving a little bit of trouble. Increase the grip, we'll go rock it back and forwards. So you wouldn't think something like this would be an issue. They're never a good idea. I don't know why they put them down there. They always rust. I've seen them where it's just took the metal out, took the wing with it, but we're good to go there. Right, just that 13 bolt on the washer, on the wiper motor. Oh, is it 10? It's 10, you idiot. 10 mil. Looped round. Wrong way. I have to cut that one. That's that. One loom out. Doesn't look too bad once you get it out. Tendency to hook onto everything. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to jet wash the bay, so I've removed the headlamp relay out, bay, relay. And someone's definitely been playing with this one, because the little tangs that hold that Bakelite base cover in, they've been pulled back and then they're not factory crimped there, so someone's been inside the relay. We'll open it up and have a look. Didn't want it to get wet because I'm going to be jet washing. That klaxon will come out for now, just to give us room. Probably won't go back in. It'll be a bit of fun to get it going. So yeah, someone's been playing with the relay. But that's the bad boy. A little flat blade in the side, I'll open that up, but that'll be done when we get down to loom building. So I'll pop that with a loom. Another thing to remember, if you're doing this at home, folks, always forget, don't forget, always get an adult to help you, is to put all the nuts and bolts in a tin and mark it PAPPA nuts and bolts. We're going to do that now before the jet washer comes anywhere near this. Systematic, folks. Label. Okay, before we go any further, we're jet washing, of course, but it's time to be systematic and put all the nuts and bolts in nice little containers and label them up. PAPPA nuts and bolts. We don't have to individually section them out, but put them all together. We don't want to lose anything here. It's nice to be neat as you go. So all these little odds and sods now, we can put them in these nice plastic tubs. Tubs. I've been using them for garden waste. They're quite good. I got them at a good price. Don't tell River Island we've got your tubs. I found that one at the side of the road, so don't get me on that one. Okay, let's put everything away. And then let's get the jet washer. We need to degrease. We need to go and find it. I think I'm out of degrease. I might have to make a trip to go and get some. I want it soaking in. We'll use hot water on the jet washer for this one. And get this nice and clean. It's good to work in a clean environment. You know, that makes sense. It just makes life easier. Why not? You've got the opportunity. In my experience, it's best to take that opportunity, Chris. Get the quote? Nice work, Chris. Get the quote? It is a quote from a film. British, gangster, reasonably modern. See the sec. Nice work, Chris. In my experience, it's best to take that opportunity. Okay, degreaser time. Spray liberally. The pheromone spray. I've got some bolts to shift, but we may as well degrease them while we're there. Spray liberally. The Nerta super degreaser mixed in with a bit of gunk. I had some gunk left, good old reliable gunk. Spray lovely. Let's see how she comes up. I reckon it's going to come up. It's going to come up. Hold on, let's get you re-centered. Lost the plot. Oh, we were right. We got mental. There you go. There we go. I reckon it's going to come up good, everyone. Plenty on. Flood the cowlings. Plenty on. Flood the cowlings. Plenty on. With the bay degreased down, as I say, sprayed on neat. It's time to get the K4. This is a Karsha K4. It's a great little all-rounder. You get the other lance there, low and high pressure switchable, and then just a single high pressure lance. It has a fluid bottle on there, which you use in conjunction with a low pressure one. That had block paving solution in it, cleaning solution for block paving, but you can reuse the tub, put anything you want in. It's a powerful little unit. Step up from the K3. I like it. It's done me good. My little K3's still running, but I just needed a little bit more oomph for doing the block paving. I've got this block paving to clean yet. No point doing it while we're doing this. Anyway, we're degreased down. It's time now. Set you up on the tripod. I've got a hot water connection to it. I like this expandable pipe here. This is a hose lock expanding pipe. It's really cool. Just look at that. It doubles in length. You get it pre-packed in this tub. I'll show you the tub. I really like this. Where's the little... Get one of these, folks. Just get one of these. Hose lock. Expands up to 15 metres, that bad boy a pop. Hopefully nobody will be spraying any bees with it. Lady not included. But yeah, very good. And I got that for 20 quid from CPC with all the fittings. Anyway, I'm going to use the tub for these bolts. So yeah, expandable hose by Hose Lock, very good. K4 pressure washer, very good. Get one. If your old pressure washers coming to the end of its life and you're not getting any oomph, then I recommend that. If you shop around on Amazon, let's get these in. We're all packing away here, packing a punch with all PAPPA's little bits and bobs. That's how we like to keep it clean at Cortina City, systematic and clean. Go through the process. I like it that way. And Richard will be happier too when he shows. Looks like the battery tray's rotted, folks. Because could this be the first casualty of war? Oh, the hole there. A better battery tray, perhaps. Anyway, let's jet wash. Come on. Are you ready to jet wash PAPPA? Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. Permission to blast granted. Fault spotted. Fault spotted. You just want to be careful with the fiberglass heater box. This could damage it, so we'll dodge round that. You ready? Okay, that's the bay. Okay, the bay is clean and ready to rock. We've gone down the best we can. It's come up all right, actually. So I'm ready to continue on to the loom now. That's one job out of the way. Let that dry down. I've blown it, as you saw. I want to cut out these crazy lights next, and also go over here into the yard. Got Planet Rock on. Some slow drying degreaser. It's good for this job. A bowl there, and then to clean the loom up. I didn't want to jet wash the loom because it'll rip the harness tape off. Some of it we're going to keep, so we're going to clean this loom up outside because it's virtually summertime now. Well, I think it is 23rd of May. So we're just going to feed that into this bowl with that degreaser in. So when I'm rebuilding this loom, I'm not getting covered in muck. I'm going to try and make the whole job as clean as we can, but as you can see, it's already bringing it up there, taking off the grease. So all the way down, I've got to go all the way, all of that. Plenty for me to do. Leave me with this. I shall report back. This will all be clean in just 2 seconds for you, 10 minutes or so, maybe more for me. Loom clean up, and then we'll start resoldering it, fixing it up Cortina City style. A nice neat job will be done. Okay, got the worst of it off. Just used this washing up bowl. It's actually a cat litter tray, actually, just to suspend the quick drying, slow drying degreaser. Doesn't attack the plastic. This stuff's nice and gentle. There it is. Good for doing loom cleaning. Not as good as in the engine bay. I wouldn't use it in the engine bay. It's not designed for that. It just gets off the lion's share of the dirt here. Even when you don't boil wash. The Dad's Doorstep Challenge. So it was a good idea to just bunch the loom up in here. And you're just using it as a receptacle, as I said, to catch the fluid and load the brush each time. So just dipping the brush in and digging in, brushing round, then rearranging the loom a little bit as it just drops the dirt off. Just rearrange the loom to get the angles you might miss. Just spinning it, really, twisting it, spinning it upside down. Just a quick job. And then we're going to dissect parts of it to see where the loom burnout was. Obviously, it's had a repair. This is not a Ford colour wire here, so it's being repaired. I do think the owner told me that it was repaired. As we mentioned, the relay fire. Not all this loom. We don't really want to get the loom looking too mint. Remember, it's patina look and no cost, minimum expense here. So we're just we are going to rewrap it in Ford loom tape, not the bits that are already wrapped, just the bits that where the wrappings come off. In other words, not a full concourse loom rebuild. No need. It's just going to be very reliable, of course, and properly soldered up. There's no corners being cut. It's just that we don't have to go to that crazy cosmetic level that we've done with the concourse restores, or near to concourse restores that I've done. I don't like concourse because you can't use it. If you're going to do concourse, you pretty much can't use the car. If you use the car, it's virtually loses its concourse look. So I don't know what you think. There's always debates about concourse. Concours, isn't there? You know, it really annoys me, the whole concept of it. Trailering your cars into shows really is not what I like. I'm not against it, but I just think you got to use your cars and hammer them and then get them fixed. I think there's always an argument to build a Cortina and then just as it on like a plinth. I'd like to do that, I must admit. So I can kind of get it in that respect. If people who've done concourse have done it almost with that in mind, I can sort of get that. Anyway, a non-concourse loom. Quite therapeutic, actually. This is, yes. We're nearly done there. I'll be right back. Well, here we are with a loom. I just laid it out on some cotton sheet that was going to scrap some old curtains. And there's the alternator plug. looking a bit cleaner, and straight away we can see, I might get the torch for you, we can see that this loom's melted at this point. Okay, look how it's scorched the wrap there. So we've got ourselves the first part of the fault. It's took the short, has taken it from, that's the battery pickup. It actually picks up on this loom from the alternator starter motor bolt. So that's where it picks it up on this loom. I've never seen that before, but that's what it does. So that's the main current feed to the entire loom. So wherever it's gone, that goes down to the alternator, through the alternator and back out, and then it makes its way down the loom to that headlamp relay. So I don't know how far it's scorched. It could have got only, it might have only has got, I can't get the words out backwards. It might only have got as far as this plug. You know, it's got hot, and then it's ran out of heat past just before it goes past that second connector, because they actually join together on the back of the alternator there. So we're going to have to unwrap that section at least, just to see the condition of this cable and to see if it needs replacing or not. I'm just looking at that damage there. We could take that piece out, solder a new piece in up to that Lucar connector there, possibly. I'll have to just see if there's any evidence of it going further down. Now it doesn't feel crunchy here, as you'd expect, like it does there. So I think the short, at least on this section, is from that piece to that connector, and it's lost it as it goes through. It could have melted the connectors on the back of the alternator, then burned out and not been able to carry on through that plug. I don't know. I think that's how it's wired. So a Stanley blade onto here now to open that up and just to see, and then we'll bring the rest of the loom into shot and see what's happened down at this section here where they've broke in. And you can see actually it looks like melted cable. Oh, is it? There's the join in the loom for the power feed. That makes sense. Yeah, more damage there. There we go. So we're going to need... Was it taking it out into the car? It shouldn't have done. It shouldn't have gone up that far. Nothing in the cabin could do that. Messy up here. Just inspecting, folks, all the time. That's definitely been hot. Just took a bit off that wire. Took a bit off that wire, so the splicing needed there. Messy up here. Don't know what's going on. Wires twisted together. And then more burn marks up here, all the way up there. I think that's, yep, it is finding its way to the headlamp relay. There it is, all the way to the headlamp relay, onto the pin, and the pin's got hot. You can see it's melted the rubber. So short there. So we've got to replace the power feed all the way to the headlamp relay. So that loom's got to be replaced out. So we need to start dissecting this now and stripping it out. I won't do that. I'll do that bit last. I want to get the worst out of the way. So that can wait. We're going to have to just see. Here's a double up. We're going to have to come back a little bit and just see how far we've got to go. So I have got the thick wire in stock. We have got a soldering iron. So it shouldn't be a problem. And then we'll have to just plan back, cut out this wire that they've put in. We shall do it. So repair work, I'll update you shortly. Let me just lay this out, slice it with a blade, and give it a little rub down and a dry down. Still a bit damp, some old tape on it, needs taking off. Cable's wrapped all over the place. It needs straightening out, folks, but we can do it. Be right back. Okay, I've opened this loom up and I've worked out what they've done or what's gone wrong. What's happened is quite usual fault. I can tell you what would have happened with this. The relay here, oh, this is the relay plug, sorry, the relay would have been there. The Bakelite base plate has fallen out of the relay, which again can happen, and the relay's then landed on the inner wing and shorted out the main positive feed to the relay, or the relay's internally shorted. But I'm going to make a guess that it's actually pulled out and then shorted. What they've done, the red cable that normally goes to this is what threw me, has been replaced with a brown cable. It must have completely melted out, and that's why it's cut away here. You can see inside they've refitted. They must have got this off another car, not in red. It should be red, doesn't really matter. And then they've routed that wire back to the place where it would have originated, which is this junction here, the main feed junction from the alternator and the battery. So, and these burn marks are just incidental collateral damage on the other cable, so that cable's okay, that's not overloaded. That's just got burn damage from the adjacent wire that's melted, so that's then melted other wires on its way, not shorted them but scorched the sheathing. So these cables that are damaged, the different colours, the lower current ones, these are your stalk controls for dip and high beam. Whilst it's melted there, it's not the wire, the small wire that's gone, it's the adjacent wires melted into the insulation on this. So that means that the copper core itself will be okay, and you could just re-wrap that, and the actual strands of copper haven't been under any current. They've just been melting next to the wire. So, in other words, they've not shorted, they've just been in the blast zone. And any cable that was adjacent to that red cable that runs through the loom, you can see the red's melted to it on this. There, bring it into the light, you can see bits of the red wire stuck to its adjacent cables, scorching them. So it can throw you there because it looks like other wires have shorted. They've not, and they've got no reason to really either, because none of these cables here carry much current, not sufficient current anyway to actually melt the insulation, and indeed a lot of these have their own fuse. The only wire that doesn't have the fuse is this cable, and that's why it does that. It should really, that's Ford's fault for building it that way. Taking a wire up to this relay straight from the battery is dangerous because it's a direct short. If it's a direct short, you've no fuse protection in the loom. That's what happens. I've had it go on me. I've had one loom melt almost the same as this. So it's a case of replacing, well actually the wire's already in, and if this plug here is good enough, which it seems like it is, that receptacle there is a proper one for the diameter, so there's no point trying to dig out of a cable. This cable's fine and in good order, it just wants shortening. They've not shortened it down, they've kind of bunched it up. You saw me in the engine bay trying to unhook it. I had to cut it. It was wrapped round the one of the supports for the washer bottle. They must have done this repair in situ without taking the loom out, and they've obviously wrapped the wire around and then locked it in place there. So really we can scrape off some of this burnt cable off the other wires, straighten everything up. A couple of twist joints here, they might have actually burnt straight through it, but I doubt it. That's just been cut for some reason. That wants heat shrinking back together. It's not too bad. I can work out what's happened now. It makes more sense to me. It's time now to start cleaning it up, soldering it up. Right, I've got my loom goodie box here. There should be enough bits and bobs and wire colours to splice and patch in to this. I don't think I've got an alternator connector in here to make that dual alternator hookup. You know, we're talking about a dual loom in case you put the crossflow back in it. So I'm going to order one of them on eBay tonight. But the rest of the things I can fix. I found another wire that was chopped there. So it just resoldered that. That wire is too short, so we need another piece of red and yellow to extend it. It's no problem to connect the alternator up. They can pick up in that splice joint. Here they would have had a splicer that's come out with the heat. So there's enough for me to go on. I've worked out all the wires now, and anything that's cut, I've worked out where it's cut and why they cut it. So I've got it back roughly where it should be, laid out, ready to add that alternator plug, the second alternator plug, in case you've missed it. 2 alternator plugs go on this loom. One, I've got to swap to this side for the Pinto, because of cross-flow alternators the opposite side. So because we're fitting a Pinto, but we may go back to the cross-flow later, rather than change the loom, I'm making it dual plug. You just piggyback them across in parallel, and then parallel the ignition light, the alternator light, sorry, and that's it. So I'm going to dig in here now for the cables that I need. Wish me luck as I go in. Right, the first repair splice is going in. And that's the dip wire, this red and yellow. It's either dip or high beam. I think it's dip, but it goes to the relay there, and that was broke. So I've cut a piece out of that spare loom I had, and that goes all the way down. And for some reason they'd cut it at this plug. That consequently the old piece of wire was too short, so that's out. And then with this one's just long enough to make it. The one I cut out of the spare loom, that'll make it. So a heat shrink joint there, that gets that off the list. All we've got to do is hack away a wire at a time. Might be a bit daunting at first when you just try and process it all in one go, but the way to do it is just chisel at it, and eventually it'll go. So we just chisel away, check a wire at a time. When you see something like this that you can do and you've got it ready to go, then just do it, because your mind then becomes freer and freer, instead of it all being a jumble, which cable can just overwhelm you. So just get a job out of the way. So we've got the cable, we've got the soldering iron, just need some solder now. I'm going to solder that up and then heat shrink it on the heat shrinks ready there, slid up. I'll just go get the heat gun and some solder, and I'll join that up. I've got me just a piece of board here, I press down with the iron, and just stops me burning the floor. Right, soldering coming in. The cable I'm joining to, picture the original wire, is a little bit corroded, so it won't go as clean as normally you would, but it will burn through with a flux. So this will go, just needs to heat on a bit longer than normal. The solder will track up the clean copper wire, and it will resist this one. It's got, I say it will resist it a little bit, but it's got it. So that's joined. Slide over. Get ready to gun that up. I'll do it as I go, so I'll heat shrink them as I go. Sometimes I'll leave these and I'll do it all in one heat shrink operation. Whoops, what's the iron on the loom? But I'm going to do it as I go. You might as well do it while you're on. So yeah, the loom fire just damaged some of the other wires. Okay, that's nice and repaired. Let's see what other cables there are to do. Just spotted another one, a blue with a pink stripe. I'll show you. I'm going to lift you up now slowly. We've got this one I've just spotted, actually didn't see that before. Here, blue with a pink. That is also, that's the high beam, I think. Pink, we're off again, and there it is, look. Burn. So there's another one to go. So have we got that colour on this? We haven't, because this is GXL. Oh, blue and pink we have. We have. There we go. We've got that cable as well. There we go. We've got that as well. So we're going to extract that cable. How much do I need, folks? So we need to get right up close to the plug. Right up to it, because you can see how tightly tight against that red wire it must have been to burn it. Probably grouped like this, look. Just get you a bit better view. Probably grouped like that, look, and it's melted it there. So we're going to have to join right up to the edge on that one. I didn't really want to pull out the insert, so I'll join right to the edge, and then it's cut up to here, going back all the way. So we won't do a full run, I'll chop it about there. So I just need an insert piece, so that's an insert piece, rather than going all the way up to here. There's no point, because you don't want to join it at the plug. So another one to do, I didn't spot that, so they're keeping on coming in. Let me get the cable ready, and I'll do another insert. Okay, here's our cable. These are always handy to have, automatic wire strippers. This makes life easy. Twist that. And then we want to cut close on this plug. I don't know if you can see that. Watch that iron. So you've got to be careful with your iron because it's melted. I'm going to get right close. Just about can do it. I think the condition of these cores is going to be bad because it's still a bit shiny because the insulation is compromised, so damp will have got in, even though it was guano. The damp would have got in. Let me just, I'll show you a little technique I do when I'm joining on these type cables anyway. Let me just put the heat shrink on first. That's a classic. Forgetting to put your heat shrink on. Let's not do that, although the other end's still open, so we're alright to be fair, but just in the background, heat shrink going on, no longer in the background. A bit longer I suppose, and it needs to be that. A little technique I used to do, still do, and I'll strip that a bit more, just stripping. Get this, the probe lead, and I just wrap around like this. And make a tight little pigtail like this, and then what I do is slide that on to that and pull it out. I usually do anyway. I'll do it by hand, but you can wrap it on a receptacle and then just slot it through. In this case I'm going to do it freehand, so that's how I've joined that. Now I don't know if I can get down to the wooden block for this, so that's wrapping around it, as opposed to, you can push them both together as well, but because the heat shrink's quite big I'm just going to do it that way. Don't use lead-free solder, it's no good. Get proper solder. I don't know, you mean the lead-free stuff's because of regulations, it just doesn't work. I don't like it at all. Right, we should get this because I'm not noticing bad corrosion on. Oh, guess what I did? I didn't plug the, you know, for the sake of a double socket, I'm running on a single extension lead. Working on the floor, I've unplugged the iron. I think I unplugged the iron, you idiot, because I had the heat gun on. Oh, so the iron's cold. These are the things, you know, that's why I probably said before that I do all the heat shrinking in one go. For the sake of a double plug. Why haven't I got an extension lead? It's a double. I'll tell you what, next time I'm in B&Q, I'm getting a new long extension lead on a coil, because my one doesn't wrap up anymore because the edge of the drum has broke, so when you're winding it on the drum it just goes everywhere. And also about a 5 metre double lead for jobs like this. Tell you what, where we shouldn't be, by the way, folks. Let's get cosy. We are working on the floor, which I don't mind, but no matter what you do, there's never enough room. I need another workshop for electronics. Look where I'm working, right underneath bramble. Well, as it goes, look how clean bramble is. Get the torch, just look at this. It's like brand new under there. It's been hammered as well. We did clean it for the NEC and it's held out really, really well. And guess what? The magnetic torch is stuck to Bramble's bumper. Very naughty. You know, where's the proper workshop? You know, this is called CPC. The Osmo camera's got a drill holding its back jobby magnetic leg on. But does that affect your viewing experience? I don't think it does. I'd love an electronics workshop bench properly set up, but I was going to do it in here, but then I just want this just for cars, you know. Right, we should get this now. Next door building an extension on the house. The builders are in. And they got one of those Makita radios. They're very good, but they're very bassy. So all I can hear is thump, thump, thump. I'd rather just hear the whole song. I think there's nothing worse than dum, dum, dum. A faint dum, dum, dum. I remember once I went to Mark 1 Cortina Nationals in Stratford. Oh mate, good 5 years ago. And I camped. I'm not against camping, but I never had a good tent at the time. Hotels can be worse because you know, just as noisy in a hotel. But there was a rave in the field next to Stratford Racecourse, and it went on till 6 in the morning, and all you could hear was dum, 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 dum. Don't get me wrong, in the 90s, I weren't far away in the raves, but it reminds me of that when I'm hearing that radio now. Dum, 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 drives me nuts. Right, that's done. That's another one. Well, I've got to join it at the other end. Stick that over there. Right, close up that one. I'm going to solder it before I heat shrink it. I shall carry on. See you in a sec. Right, that's joined further up the loom there. Slide the heat shrink on for that repair. There. Repair. He's at it again. Okay. Is that alright if I do that with the camera? Sometimes it's tricky, you know, with one hand. We all say that. There we are. Right, we'll do those 2 heat shrinks now. Then I'll put the iron back on. I'm going to continue with this. I've got an ignition wire there to solder. That's the override, the ballast override. That goes straight to the coil as a starter motor this end. You can see it there. So when you crank the engine, it puts 12 volts to this, which bypasses the ballast, giving the coil 12 volts. Part of the circuit. We won't need that. We're going to put electronic ignition on this, and you don't need a ballast when you have electric ignition. It doesn't require it, but I'll leave the loom as is, and we'll wire up accordingly. Then there was another, then there was another, and a lot of the wires have been cut and retwisted together but shorter, so I've had to put inserts in to get the length of the cables back to where they should be. Reason being, if the length of the cables is too short, then it bunches the loom and you can't pull the loom out nice and straight. I'll show you what I mean. Put the iron out of the way because I think that's the last solder connection just here. To heat shrink. I better do them before I forget. I've been doing really classically wrong with the heat gun, not reconnecting the soldering and then after putting the heat gun in and having a cold iron again. Right, so this one setting you're on. That one. That one. I've used the same colours. Right, so all the colours are the same on the loom. Right, so I don't need that yellow one now. There's wires everywhere. Help, I think I'm melting. Right, that board's done. What we got? So from where we started up this end, that's all repaired, and I've started to straighten the loom out now so that all the cables come in as they should factory. So I'm using this Tessa cloth tape. It's good stuff. There's the alternator for the other side. That just piggybacks on to the other alternator. That's the alternator lamp wire. That's the feed into the loom. That joins into the loom, goes to the battery, and across to the other alternator plug. So they're okay. I've metered it out. I've been using the meter just to follow the cables through. There is an oil pressure switch, but it's pretty much equidistant. So rather than mess with this end of the loom, which is all intact, other than that red cable, I'm just gonna extend this in the bay. There's no point really doing much with that wire, the oil pressure lamp. It's sort of halfway between both sides of the engine now. Right, so we've got that's all repaired. These alternator wires come out there on that side of the bay, and then I'm going along. The ballast resistor is external, so you don't wrap that up. So we're just pulling as we go and getting them nicely bunched, and as we got a nice bunch that's straight, I just nip them up with the tester tape, the cloth tape. This gets over wrapped, of course. Now we're finding our way toward the headlamp relay, so we'll just bring the cables there, and there's a junction point now that we've reached. So what happens is these go up. There is some crusty wires, but they're alright. Well, there are some crusty wires, but they're okay. Two there, just checking you're still on. Yes, it's hard because I've got you up on magnetic mount on the stuck to the garage roller door. These two go there, they split apart for each side, that's okay. Down we go to meet the main loom. And then we're into the main loom now with that. Hang on, let's just bunch it. These will have to pull through. There's a little bit of jiggering here. We've got two to pull through, I think they're on that plug, so they might not go. Oh, there we go, we've got it. We've got it. We're in. Right, I'm just trying to get everything. I just pulled that one straight. This is all crushed up. What they've done, they've been pulling at it, joining it, taping it where the damage was. But we have now. Oh, there's one more. I just spotted another. Look at that one. They're twisted together. It's not going to last, is it? Iron back on. So what we're going to do with that, it looks like the cables. Is it long enough? Does it need an insert? Let's see. Good question. We've got a slight bunch on that main brown feed. It should be red, of course. I told you about that. But their brown feed is okay. That's I've got an extra bit of cable in it. Reason is I put a fuse in there, so not put that in last. Will that cable reach, or is it too tight? Where's it going? It's an F. The relay. Don't like it. Don't like it. I have to put another insert in here. Cut there. Because obviously, as they've melted through the cables, they've cut them back, twisted them together. Probably not took much out of it, but it's making it. It's not nice. It's not running down. So we need a thumb span. That's one way of measuring it. Like that. A cable, got some here, cutting it out, joining it in, strip back. As I said, strippers are great. And then wrap round. That's a little bit tarnished. It will need some good heat there to make the solder flow. Strictly speaking, we should acid clean that back, but I don't think this iron's that hot when it's plugged in. That the flux does get through and penetrate. Right, slide over the heat shrink. Where's the heat shrink? Just here, cutting a piece. Slide it on so we don't forget. Well, it wasn't too late yet. Don't tell me that rhymes. Yes, it does. Okay, so I've got that there. Let's cut this to length. That comes down into the loom here. Let's have it really go into the loom. As you can see the length of this there and there, right where it is now. Cut another piece of heat shrink. Oh, soldering iron's on its way. Turn the radio off for copyright reasons. wrap round we go. You can't quite see that, apologies, but there's two joins right on there. If I put my hand where I'm working, can you see that on yours, because you're bigger on your 1080 screens? I am only just in and then going for solder now. Take a while just to burn through. Clean copper, of course, is preferred, but it does do it. I've watched it track down, so don't think I'm botching it, because I'm not. I've put my eyes on it, and the solder does, flux does go, and then you see it flow down, and there's another line, go flow. That's done good. It's really nice. Slide the heat shrink over, one more to go, and then we can continue what I was doing before we got rudely interrupted by these wires. But cables is my game, as you probably know. That's flow okay as well. No flow. Go pros, go flow. Here, 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 here. Okay, now we can heat shrink. Back to where I was. Done. Right, what a mess. Okay, so we go here. Let's just bunch that up for the fuse. We're leaving a little bit of cable for the fuse. That's an indicator cable. That should be in the bay. So that's correct. Right, that's correct there, so I can nip that with the tesser. Leaving, you'll see the loop, that brown just sticking out for the fuse. So don't worry about that, that's what that's for. Right, you can see now what I mean, that makes a nice straight run. If you get them the wrong length, it just does not group together like this and lay flat and parallel. When you come to wire wrap, this will make a nice junction now. Round we go. Am I going backwards? Yes, I am. It's better. These are just to keep it steady while I wrap it, of course. Right, so now we've got the junction. Indicator light comes out there. That's our junction. I can clamp that. Might not be exactly how Ford did that junction there. With that sort of double clamp back, but it's okay. That wasn't supposed to snap. Oh, you still see? Yeah, you can. It's working. Right, I've got a grey and black cable that's bunched. It wants pulling through the loom like that. There we go. Then pull and just get everything straightened up. We've got another one, a black and white one. There we go, it's gone. You can see what I mean. Look how I'm getting them straight lines now. Everything's running parallel. I'll bring that up to you. Soldering iron. Okay, yeah, it's out. That's what I'm talking about. Getting that so that it runs straight. Okay, of course, if there is excess, I've not guessed the inserts correctly, you'll get a slack up at the other end, but I'd rather have it up at this end than in the harness itself. So in other words, what you might get is here is cables appearing longer than they should because of our guesswork. But that's okay, because a lot of them you can get away with that. That one will pull straight. Right, so I've got, well, that one is going to go to that side. You'll probably never get that one because it goes into that loom now that's now already wrapped, and normally we would be able to just let that carry on going, but because that's wrapped and we're not re-wrapping it, we'll not be able to push that slack forward downstream. So what we'll do, we'll just double up on it in a sec. I'll show you what I mean. Stream. What's coming out there? Nothing. So everything else, there's a little nick in the cable there. to watch that. It's the horn, it's got a nick in it. Yeah, so that much is how I overestimated the length, which it wasn't bad. You just look when I was inserting, but what we'd do, we'd just let them fold back on themselves inside the harness. Now I have seen that actually done in looms, in some of Ford looms. Indeed, you might have seen it yourself if you've ever pulled one apart and you'll see a wire fold back on itself. Whether that's the reason why they did it, I don't know, but you can hide them back into the loom. I'll show you. So they sort of folded back and you never know they were there. See, that's a technique. I used to build looms for a job as well. I was an electronics engineer for a long time, in charge of production lines on automated equipment in factories, CNC lathes and pick and place machines for produce, for grading machines on produce, packing machines. Worked on all that kind of stuff, amusement games. Electronics engineer I was. We used to build and design circuit boards, control systems, basic stuff, just pretty much discrete components, just logic gates, relays and such, CNC machines, I said, rotary encoders, linear encoders, stuff, all stuff that controls like factory robot pick and place stuff I used to work on, and a lot on pinball games and stuff. I used to have to build looms, so this is old school for me. Right, all that remains to be seen is where the alternator exits. Remember what we said, the PAPPA had a crossflow in it, alternator on the right hand side looking from the front, Pinto going in, so alternators on the other side. Can you see me? Yeah, you can. On the other side. So I've just got to work out, that's the bulkhead here. How far down the bulkhead is the alternator? It's about halfway in the chassis rail, so it's going to exit somewhere. If I leave these long enough, it should be alright there. So they get paired till they get to the Lucard plug. Now you might notice there's only one wire, but the alternator has two red feeds to it, but they're both just joined together. This is a double thick cable, so this should be fine. So it'll work. So that's that, and that's alternator. I think that's everything. We're ready to wrap that loom there, leaving the, you can see the ballast wire, that's always external, although later looms did have them built in, but on this loom it's an external ballast. We don't need that. We replace this with a solid link, so you just make up a loop that size and fit it into the loom, but I'll leave it as it is for now. So everything's ready to go. We've basically repaired the wiring harness there, and all I have to do now is get my loom tape and wrap this up. I can't see any reason why it won't work. I could fit it into the bay, you know, now before I wrap it and test it, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to meter everything back. I've got the continuity tester here, so we'll just use this to put it on bleep setting, and then just use that to bleep through your continuity of your cable. So you'll just check that each pin goes to where it should be. An example, I'll give you a quick example of it. The most likely candidate, dip and high beam for your 7-inch single lamps. I'm so used to GXL, put us on bleep. So that yellow wire there is either high beam or dip, I don't know, I've never worked it out. And that will bleep on the socket, on the output pins of the relay, which are these singles, so this should bleep, which it does. And then the white one will bleep back to the white, which it does, and then of course pairing them on the other side, white to the other plug, because it's two sets of headlights. There's the other plug. We are on white, and that's okay, and that's okay. So they're all right, they're okay, they're working. The rest of the pins on the relay, you've got an earth pin on the relay, that's there, so this goes to the earth strap and that bleeps out. Then you've got a positive feed, that one that melted. So this will be on the alternator wire and also on the battery wire because the whole lot's connected. There you go, the battery there go. So that goes straight to there. Also it should go to my clone alternator or my doubled up piggyback alternator. So this should bleep out. Pound to a penny. Boom. You're good to go there. So that's connected. The alternator plug itself, I just want to do a little check. I feel that live comes into this plug without it connected to the alternator. No, they are both on, they're just paralleled up. Must just be to get double thickness cable, that's why they've done that. Rather than one big wire going to the alternator, they double it up on the blades. But because we've got this extra thick cable, we just do 2 blades on the end of here and they go on the alternator to share the load. You don't want to put it all on one pin of the alternator, share it out. So that's that. The other pins, I would say, go now to the multi-plug. So that connects to your stalk in the car itself. So this is the low beam command, and this would find itself on one of the multi-plugs. It looks like they dedicate one plug to mainly lighting action. So the red plug, it should be on the red plug. Is it going to be on there? There it is. And the other one next to it for your dip beam, if that was high beam, and this is dip beam, so that would go to this plug at some point. Where we don't know. Oh, it doesn't. Now I wonder if they split it between the 2 plugs then. And I'm wrong. So I'm not getting that going back, and it should be back on one of these. I should get a bleep. There we go. So sharing out across the 2. So that plug now makes it to all its locations as it should do. The rest of the things I can't see them being wrong. The horn got repaired. That is on here. The horn wire comes out there, so into the horn plug. I'm starting to learn the colours. I'll eventually learn all the colours. That goes into that. That should come up on here on one of the pins. There we go, middle pin. That's it, we're done. Now I don't know if we're into an hour for this video. I think we probably are, so I'm going to sign out for now. So you've just seen a blast from the past, the old days when Pete used to make stuff on the bench. Some people said yeah, I like it when you used to do the tech stuff and the quiet stuff and the old bramble rambles and all that. I used to have a bit of philosophy flown in from imported in, thrown in a bit of philosophy and some ramblings and what you'd call musings. It's musings, sort of, and snippets and tidbits. Yeah, so I'm going to take the end of this because the grey harness tape here is going to start unwinding itself because it's damaged here, so I'm just taping up. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed a tech video this time and a bit of a clean-up video and a loom repair. We've got to wrap it, of course. We'll do that next time. You see, the thing is, you've got to guess your run time, and I'm trying to keep the films to about an hour. Probably get away with wrapping this for you so you can see the finished article. I might do that. So if we don't wrap, we're going to be wrapping pretty soon. PC, hoping you're enjoying the show. PAPPA is going to be on the road. I've got a parts list to make, but I'm chiseling away. So this is one job now off the list. So we're going to go out to look at PAPPA's bay. I don't have to worry about the engine loom no more. I can concentrate. I'm going to concentrate on the brakes next, on getting them brakes working because the engine's out. Good time to get the brake lines in and the brake servo on. Anything where the engine's out in that bay, let's get that done. Catch you in a sec. PC. Well, we have got loom tape, so just before the show ends, I'm just going to wrap the loom. I like to do the branches first, so there's the branches done, then you don't see the joins at the end. The branches are in. There's just enough loom tape, I think. Start with a little bit of tesser on the end of the loom tape to set it on its way. I put it on the inside of the roll. Then start with the tesser sticking down, just checking you can see. And then off we go under tension, pulling and wrapping as we go. over that little junction there and round. Trying to keep it tense all the time. And then you sort of pull to the right if you're going left to right and overlap. Try and make sure you're using the tape economically. It'll double on itself too much. Sometimes you've got to do that, but round we go. It's pretty quick once you get going. Coming up to a T-junction now. Round this little branch. And that hides it. Another one, another branch coming up. That's the fuse box branch. Mr. Beeching hasn't shut that one down. There we go. Feeding down the trunk now. The spine. And then I'm pulling as I go, almost stretching it quite. Bring you up. You have seen this on my other videos building looms, of course, but no harm in a new project. So we go under the light. Is that better? You see there. I keep forgetting that you're on a big screen. Well, I say that with mobile phones. There is one little bit of repair to do. Where was that? Don't forget about that. That's at the other end. There's a little loom I've got to do up here. It's not much. It's a separate project. You'll be out of battery time. This will suddenly end. This clip will just suddenly click off when the battery's showing red now on screen. So I'm going to say good night and thanks for watching. Thanks for the Patreon support. Without you, we cannot do. So appreciate all the patrons past and present. Not everyone stayed for the full ride, and that's all right, don't you worry. I understand totally. There wasn't much on there. Thanks for bearing with me through the dark times. Patrons have been great. YouTubers as well, of course. Super chatters and all the PayPalers as well. Thank you very much. All the PayPalers. Loads of people jumped in and sent me stuff on PayPal, which has helped. It gives me the inspiration to keep going. It just helps. It just helps. Do you know how it works? Everyone seems to be doing Patreon now. I was in quite early. It's very popular. Battery's still going. Me still talking. Leaving that little section out here. We're coming up to the ballast. Just straightening it as I go. There we go. Coming up to, no, there's still a fair whack to go. I just have enough tape here. You can end up with a completed loom, and Pete C will be signing out. So should we just let the camera? As predicted, I just lost you there. Sorry about that. Battery did go. So we're going to finish and wind down. As I said, I was thanking the people who donated on PayPal via the Patreon when the live chat was on, and the super chatters and the Patreons who've stayed with us thick and thin. As I said, if you were a patron and you left, don't you worry. I understand. It's fine. The project's not for everybody. You've seen us through. Anyone that joined, even if you only joined for a month, I still appreciate it. And I don't feel obliged in any way. Everything's appreciated. So that's what I was saying before the camera just cut off. Camera was on the tripod, on the door, you know, on the floor. Door on the floor. There's another couplet for you. Here's that cable then. Before we wind down this section and switch to something else, we're nearly done and wrapped in more ways than one. Just touching with my finger, then coming off the light. That's the cable. Let's just put that lamp up there. I'm going to set the light just there. I'll take you under. So this is the one that took the brunt of it when we had that short. So that goes straight to the starter motor, which goes to the battery. So effectively, that is the main battery feed. Effectively, round and down it goes into loom. I've stripped the outer grey loom tape off, and you can see it's exposed that wire. That's took the brunt. It goes up and then it joins in to another feed, going up to the alternator plug, then going on to another feed down into the loom. Well, that survived on the whole anyway, most of it. And then the rest of the meltdown was further down the loom, probably where the relay feed wire goes slightly thinner and into a junction. So as it goes down thinner, that's the bit that would have been another weak spot. So of course, just earlier on in the clip, we've repaired that. So just this last piece to do. It's interesting how they do this. 2 wires into the alternator. I'm going to go and Google why they do that. I think it's just to spread the load. Rather than having one huge connector, they split it into 2 lots of 30, giving you 60. Yeah, so those, if you meter them out, are joined together. And indeed, I think if you meter the back of the ACR 127 alternator, indeed any alternator with this Lucar type 3-pin plug, they're actually connected together. So they are effectively doubling up the current instead of having one great big thick cable. There'll be a reason why they've done it that way. I will investigate. But we're going to replace like for like. In fact, slightly larger diameter cables going in, because that's just the cable I've got lying around. I might be able to dig some out of the other loom, the exact same diameter. We're going to do a heat shrink join about here, just up by the plug. Take this out. It's a bit unflexible now. That'll be the PVC that's hardened with the heat, losing its flexibility. Copper wouldn't have really changed much. Join just here where it does already join. You can see there's a splicing ferrule, F-E-R-R-U-L-E, ferrule. So we'll go into that. So in that little piece, and that's the end of the loom repair. You'll see here I've left the alternator wires long at the moment, just so I can put the pinto in, then cut this to the exact length, then fit the alternator plug at the end, probably do it in the bay. You'll see that my alternator plug only has a single wire going to it, or this potential alternator plug. Remember what we said, we're adding a dual loom type plug, so that if you revert back to the Kent, this will be in the loom for you to pick up, and then you just have to tuck this back out of the way. I've done it that way just to give me an option. So this will split into 2 wires when I get my alternator plug from eBay in the post, so that's thick enough to take the load. You can see that. And because it's an L car, the loading on the L car, peak loading on the L car is not as high as a GXL, mainly because the twin horns, the quad headlight setup, and there's probably a heated rear, stuff like that. So your peak loading on the L is nowhere near. So this was looms are always spec to take max. So we're plenty in, we're well in, that's what I'm saying. Right, iron is on, just got to cut, find the cable, cut and splice, probably won't film that bit. Cut and splice, then rewrap from here up to there, just there, and that's the loom done, as far as I can tell. I think I've covered everything there. I could fit it back in the car and test it. I might well do that on the part 3. Each episode around an hour, this one probably an hour and a half. And if it finally reaches YouTube, this video, thank you YouTubers as well. Going to wind down, put maybe some bonus footage at the end. I think part 1 had bonus footage of the Bramble review for Parker's. Little clip, a little film clip that they did, put that at the end. Don't know if we'll have a bonus on this one. I'll try and think of something. Maybe some drive around footage. Actually going down scrapyard with Andy the Lens. Andy the Lens is our friendly photographer, and he needs some parts off a Mini Cooper. He runs his bag, his Mini Cooper S's, and there's a scrapyard round the corner from me that's got a breaker Mini Cooper S, and Andy needs some goodies off it, so maybe that'll be the bonus clip. We shall see. For now, Pete's going to splice some new cable in and finish this loom off for you for PAPPA. Okay, I'm definitely done now. I'm definitely going. There's the fuse that we've added. I'll tell you about that earlier. That protects this relay feed if the relay ever shorts, lands on the bay or whatever. If anything goes wrong with this cable in the relay, or indeed on the lighting circuit, Although, no, there's some fuses on the relay's output, so you're alright there, but it's just the input. Anyway, there it is, in line. 30 amp goes in. Cable is done. Just get that soldering iron wire out of the way so you can see that the loom is complete. Ready to go back in the car. It should all work. Can't see why not. It's all pretty straightforward, that. Everything's been metered back. Hold on, coming down to you. There you go. So that's it. That's ready. Couple of hours on that for as long as you've been watching, plus another hour that wasn't filmed. So we'll just back up this, put tools away, and that's it for this section. We'll catch you. Bonus footage soon. PC signing out. It's loom done. Let's get back in the car. That's the next film. Alright, that's one. This one might not go. It's a bit too big for this.
This is a bit fatter.
Well, I have done this before on my car.
Unless have you got another soldering iron we can get to on job?
No, it's so easy with a gas torch. It's not worth it.
Have you got a gas torch?
Yeah.
Oh, right, cool.
Fine. It's not worth it. We'll just wait for that to roll over the edges, and you know it's done. So, like I say, sometimes you've got to scuff these. But that's panned, if you can see.
Yeah, that's
the negative one, the smaller one.
That's ready to have a wire put on it now.
They do that.
So you don't put them on the wrong way.
Yeah, because it's obviously
simple as that.
It's polarity conscious. Polarity sensitive.
It's as simple as that, isn't it? So you don't accidentally wire them up wrong.
Chris, we're glad you're here to tell us these things.
Yeah, just what would you do without me?
I'd be really struggling, mate. I'll tell you what, it is hot, because that's taking an eon to cool down that thing.
Yeah.
I need to. Can you give us a? Oh no, don't give us a blow, for fuck's sake.
You have to put that in bloopers at the end. Let's go in that blooper at the end.
Right, that's on. Oh Christ!
There we go.
Please edit that out.
Press record. So now you're soldering the fittings. These fittings go on the coil now.
We've made adapters, yeah, and I've stuck to that one. There we go. It's stuck to my soldering iron then. I wouldn't use these rubber gloves when I'm doing this normally, but because the soldering irons.
Yeah, it could melt them.
Yeah, we've got that, and we've got these adapters now. So it just basically
just the original connectors on the car.
It's just an interface lead, and it's just a patch lead across to the coil. And that's it, just plugs on. You don't actually need them because your coil's got, I'll get my bigger side cut, I'll take those ears off. I didn't think your coil had the doubles, but it's got the doubles. So
you don't actually need those?
No. Yeah, that video of mine I did with the engine, I was made up with that. I was on one of them manic highs, you know, let's say about bipolar and manic depression, you get these big lows and these big crazy zany highs. That's what I know when I'm on one. It's like you get these massive mood swings, don't you?
Yeah, Julie said about
highs and lows.
Has them,
yeah, I normally only get the lows when you're here.
Not nice.
That was the setup.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fuck this. He doesn't deserve it.